Okay, I'm here at a Panasonic European 2012 Lumix event with Sebastian Drawert. You're the manager of the Lumix division for Panasonic Europe.
Hello.
Thanks for talking to us. We've got three very exciting products that we'd like to talk about with you, if that's okay. The first is the new Lumix G5. Can you show us this camera and tell us what's new about it?
So basically the Lumix G5 is our newest addition to the Lumix G range of mirrorless system cameras. Basically it's just generally improved a lot. It improved with the viewfinder. The EVF is now featuring 1.4 million dots, but also the LCD, which is famous for its free angle, has improved the resolution and the response rate. Besides this, basically the camera concept and overall is getting just more final and more closer to a true contender in the DSLR segment.
Now, speaking of the actual names of these devices, you used to call them compact system cameras, but you're now calling them DSLMs.
Right.
What does that stand for?
Well, DSLM stands for Digital Single Lens Mirrorless. That, in contrast to Digital Single Lens Reflex, as DSLR are spelled out, this is actually the mirrorless version of it, so no more mirror. And CSC actually is reducing this great camera to its size advantage, which is not doing the product justice. So basically that's why we decided to call this new camera category DSLM.
And will that just be in the European region, or is that globally they're going to be known as DSLMs?
That's actually a global direction, and of course we need all other manufacturers and industry partners and you as journalists to follow that direction. But I think it's quite understandable and agreeable to give this baby a new name.
Are Olympus going to start calling their devices that? Sony? Do you all have big meetings to say what are we going to call these things?
Let's see. I mean, it sounds reasonable and understandable, and if it's reasonable and understandable, I think it will prevail.
Okay, now one of the nice features about the G5 is that you can actually use the touch screen while you're using the EVF, can't you?
Right. So that's a new idea. I think it's a new idea by Panasonic. The concept is that you're using the EVF, and the hassle has always been, you have 11 autofocus points or something like this, and it's always been a struggle to go up, right, to find the right autofocus point. This is really tiring and takes time. The idea here is that you, while using the EVF, the traditional viewfinder, and shooting in classic style, you just touch with your thumb the point of the screen where you want the autofocus to be. So it's probably something you need to get used to, but
so
once you do...
Can you do that while you've got it to your eye? You feel like you're prodding your nose the whole time?
You have your thumb. I mean, you need a big hand. I have a big hand. But as I said, once you get used to it, you can reach any part of the screen, which means any part of the picture you can put into focus.
Now, it's a 16 megapixel resolution, which is the same as the G3, same as the GX1.
Yeah.
Is it a new sensor or the same sensor?
It's a digital sensor now, so it's basically a new sensor technology, and especially in combination with the Venus engine, which has a reworked noise reduction system, so 3D and multi-noise reduction. The picture quality is just dramatically improved. That's why we are also be able to give out 12,800 ISO values here.
Is it a Panasonic sensor?
I cannot comment on it.
Is it the same sensor as in the Olympus EM5?
I cannot comment on this.
Okay, that's no problem.
Just because I don't know.
I look forward to testing it. It shoots at 6 frames per second with a mechanical shutter?
Yes, that's full.
And up to 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter.
No, that
right?
has nothing to do with the electronic shutter.
Right,
that is just reduced resolution.
Okay.
So the 6 frames per second are at full 16 megapixel resolution, and the reduced under reduced resolutions you're able to shoot 20 frames per second, which is quite a nice number.
But there is now an electronic shutter mode for silent shooting, right?
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And actually, let's see if it takes not too much time. I know the SD card in here. It's really virtually making zero noise. So the autofocus is, if you turn off the beep, this doesn't make any noise at all, and the shutter is then noiseless. So this is really nifty for taking pictures at concert or sports, shy animals. Those are totally new shooting situations which you can explore.
And the video is now 1080 at 50p or 60p depending on region.
Right.
So that's up from the 1080i on the G3. So we've covered video, we've looked at the touch screen in conjunction with the EVF, the silent shooting. Is there anything else that's new about this camera compared to the G3 before?
A new small idea is actually the increased, the changed dial. We changed that into a function lever.
So that used to be a finger dial there?
Yes, it used to be a dial. On traditional cameras it's still a dial, but as Panasonic is also ranging power zoom lenses, so it means lenses that are zooming electronically, it's actually quite nice because then you can zoom and shoot pictures with one hand.
Yeah.
That's not possible with any system camera where you always have to zoom and use a second hand for that.
It's really good for like the over-the-head shots,
Yeah, exactly.
of crowds and
Especially,
things like that.
tiltable screen, over-the-head shot, zoom, and you're off. So it's really convenient.
In terms of numbering, we saw this with the GF series. You skip the number 4, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that because it's an unlucky number in Japan?
Exactly. I think 4 means death.
That's not a good number then.
That's not a good number.
No,
so I think it's a tradition.
So there was no, if people weren't paying attention, there wasn't a G4. We went straight from the G3 to the G5.
You didn't miss anything major.
Same with the GF series. What about the GH series, the flagship model?
Yeah.
I feel it's been a long time since we've had a new GH series from Panasonic. What's going on?
That's right. We are hearing a lot of rumors, and of course we're working on GH. Engineering is busy working on it, and I hope we will see something
this year,
anywhere soon. I cannot comment on that. I don't know.
You've obviously just introduced 2 new weather-sealed lenses.
Right.
So the implication, hopefully, is that it's a weather-sealed body. You can't possibly be just doing weather-sealed lenses for an Olympus body, right?
Wouldn't make sense, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Right.
So that's definitely a weather-sealed GH?
I mean, really, I'm just here to inspire your fantasy and not to give you answers.
Okay, and do you think we'll ever see built-in image stabilization on a Lumix G series product?
To be honest, we are very happy with our Power OIS, which is extremely efficient. And personally, looking at our lens lineup, it's very big, and the number of lenses that are image stabilized is so huge. I don't see a need at the moment, so I would be surprised if we would be working on that.
And what about any built-in radios like GPS or Wi-Fi?
That's something interesting. Wi-Fi is a big topic. We learned today with the FZ200.
Yeah.
New wireless solutions, and I believe, without doing the competitor analysis already, our solution is actually the most complete at the moment, and I'm very, very happy personally to see this development. And I truly believe that Wi-Fi is adding a lot more value to photography, other than outside of SNS and stuff like this, which is nice for the entry cameras, but not so relevant to serious and professional photographers. So I do see possibilities there, and I hope we are working on solutions for this, and then we will see possibly in the future also mirrorless system cameras with that function.
And just before we move away from the G series onto some other products, there's a new lens announced at this time as well, a 45 to 150.
That's right, it's a 45 to 150. Don't have it here, but it's a really beautiful lens. It's super small. It's actually not much bigger than the kit lens, maybe a little bit taller, but it's actually covering the tele side of this lens, so it's really adding up to this. This is 1442. This one goes from 45 to 150, so you actually always have the tele lens with you. The current lens is the 45-200. That's the best-selling Lumix G lens at the moment, so it's really popular. It's affordable, and it's super beautiful. It comes in black and silver, and with a metal body. It's very well made, very well finished. It has an inner focus system, and also Mega OIS.
Actually, just briefly on focusing, you're still using exclusively contrast-based autofocusing.
Right.
Some of your rivals are using hybrid phase detect, or in like Nikon 1 and the Canon 650D T4i.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility that you might implement some sort of phase detect on sensor in the future?
Oh, we have face detection.
Phase detect,
okay.
yeah.
Well, we have face detection,
yes,
but not face detect autofocus. Well, to be honest, research has shown that the contrast autofocus, in terms of precision, is actually superior to phase AF.
And it can also be really quick for single AF, but for continuous autofocusing, for tracking somebody running towards you or for action, I personally still find phase detect is superior for that, for the tracking.
That's then you're, using the GH and also the G5, continuous autofocus during video. I think this is what the cameras are famous for, and this is where they really use the full potential of the contrast AF. So,
well, I look forward to putting that through its paces.
Okay.
Should we just briefly have a look at the other two? Because there's quite a lot of exciting products today.
Yeah, that's true.
Which one do you want to do next? I'll let you choose.
Whatever.
How about the LX7?
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Successor to the LX5.
Exactly.
So you skipped to 6. Is that an unlucky number as well?
I don't know. I have to brush up my Japanese. Well, basically the 7 is a very lucky number.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason why high class products are usually called with the 7. And I think for the first time we see an f1.4 in a compact camera. I think they wanted to emphasize that.
So the zoom range is the same as before. It's 24 to 90 mil.
Right. It's 3.8 times optical zoom.
But instead of the old one, I think was f2 to 3.3, but this is now f1.4 to
2.3.
So that's a lot brighter.
Exactly. That's where the engineering has gone. So you see the body shape didn't change at all. It's a very classic design. It's actually very beautiful, and many people really love it. But a lot of the engineering has gone into this lens. f2.3, which is actually the brightest at the tele end, is a lot brighter than most other compact cameras do at the wide end. So this is really outstanding achievement here, and we're extremely proud of that.
And it's been such a long time since the LX5, you've been able to implement things like, I mean, it was 720p on the LX5, wasn't it, the video?
I guess, yeah.
And this is obviously 1080p, at 50p and 60p again.
Full HD,
Yeah.
50p, yeah.
And then the continuous shooting is up as well, because I think it was just 2.5 frames per second on the LX5.
Right.
So is that's faster now on this one?
Yeah, this is much faster now. I cannot tell you the exact number, but it's, I think, up to 6.
Still 10 megapixel, but it's a new sensor.
Right, newly developed. We actually were listening to you, we're listening to journalists, and we're listening to consumers who are starting to understand that the megapixel race doesn't get them anywhere. You know, nowadays we see mobile phones with whatever 18, 40 megapixel. People do understand that it's not about megapixel. Picture quality is about the lens and about sensor quality. And in fact, with a 10 megapixel sensor, you can print out an A0 print without any problem, and that's more than anyone would ever need.
But it's still a 1/1.7 inch sensor.
That's right.
You weren't tempted to put a larger sensor in there, maybe even a Micro Four Thirds sensor or something like that?
Why would that be a good idea?
Well, bigger sensor, you know, better tonal dynamic range, lower noise.
Okay, well, in fact, the picture quality of this camera is absolutely satisfactory. We put in a really nice lens, and we managed to actually not compromise on the size. Besides the fact that we have a GF series, which is very nice, offering really great picture quality and detachable lenses. It is a bit bigger, so if you're looking for an MFT in a compact body, please go to a GF. If you're looking really to have an outstanding classic camera with a bright lens, then the LX is probably the one for you.
So, I mean, in an age where mirrorless, well, DSLMs are, you might as well use that term from now on, where they're becoming more and more prevalent, more and more popular. In your presentation, you reckon that they occupy 50% of the interchangeable lens market by 2015.
They already do today in Japan.
Yeah, that's right. It's about 20% in Europe and the US.
Well, it depends on the country. Overall in Europe, we are looking at 16-17% now. In UK, for example, it's much higher. We've actually cracked the 30% already during Christmas. It's gone down since then a little bit again, but the trend is clearly upwards, and I fully trust these figures. And if not, then they are rather on the conservative side.
So with this big push for mirrorless, large sensor cameras, interchangeable lens cameras, who's going to buy an LX product? I mean, it's a really nice camera, and I love the bright lens and everything, but who would buy that instead of a GF5? Or a GX1 even?
This is probably a camera for somebody who has a system camera at home or doesn't really care about changing lenses. So if you're looking for a really small, high-quality camera to take always with you in your pocket, then this is the one for you. Whether or not you have already a DSLM at home for more serious, more flexible photography or not, that's actually a separation. So it can be a first, but it's also a second camera.
Okay, and moving on to the third product, because again there's just so much to talk about, the FZ200. So this is the successor to the FZ150.
Exactly.
So this is your flagship super zoom.
Exactly.
Superficially looks quite similar, but it's got one really, and it's got the same 24 times 25 to 600 millimeter range, but there's one very special difference.
Exactly, and you can already see it. So as you say, it looks similar. That's right, because it's still a super zoom lens. But you can see here the lens has already, it's like a poisonous animal who is highlighting its sting in red. This camera is actually highlighting its lens in black metal frame. And this is really to highlight, and as you can see, it reads on the side, it's f2.8, and not just in the wide end, it's f2.8 all the way to 600 millimeter.
So all the way to a 600 millimeter equivalent, it's f2.8.
Exactly.
That's so much brighter than any of the competition.
Exactly.
How did you do it?
Well, if I would know...
You stuck a load of glass in it.
Well, I don't know if it's a number of glass. Of course, we're working in cooperation with Leica, which is great engineering, great lens quality, great lens design. And as you saw today in the presentation, we're all very, very proud of this achievement.
And you've also, it's not just about the bright lens, you've got a much higher resolution electronic viewfinder in there as well.
Right. So the resolution compared to competition is actually 6 times higher, 1.3 million dots. It's probably the same resolution as in the G5, but the sensor is a little bit smaller.
Okay.
That's why the number of pixels is smaller as well, but at the same density.
So similar sort of style and quality to what you'd expect on the EVF on the on the Lumix G series.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a really nice EVF. That's a great advantage over the competition.
Also, the frame rate is doubled from 30 frames per second to 60. So also the feeling of using it is becoming more true to your reality than with the FZ150.
So just to kind of go back to the FZ150, I think that went to, it was f2.8 when it was zoomed out, but when it was zoomed in, it went to f5.2. So to be able to maintain that f2.8, that's extremely exciting.
Especially at the tele end. You know, most people who buy a super zoom camera, they want to zoom.
Yeah.
They want to zoom all the way.
And that's when it just goes horrendously slow, and
Exactly.
you know you've filled the frame with the action, but it's too blurry.
Exactly. And this is also the point where you shake most. You know, the shaking at 600 millimeter, of course, is visible very high. So it's really important to keep low shutter speeds to avoid the shakiness. And this is of course easier with an f2.8.
And the viewfinder is smoother as well. It's 60 frames per second.
Right.
Refresh rate.
I just mentioned it's up from 30 to 60 frames. Yeah.
And when are these cameras going to be available? When can people buy them?
They will be available within the next month.
All of them?
Depends on the country in Europe. Yes, all of them.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Sebastian. We look forward to testing them.
Okay, thank you.
Panasonic FZ200 firmware version 0.3 progressive 1080p movie test. I've got this in aperture priority and it's fixed at f2.8, which of course this camera can maintain throughout the range. Let's see how it is zooming in on this clock in the distance. And now in and out again, but at a faster speed. Pretty good. I didn't really notice many aperture changes there. Panasonic FZ200 with aperture priority at f4.